Before the first market stall opens, the frozen ground is already hiding something extraordinary. A 2021 study, published in Food Chemistry, found that common spring weeds contain up to 4 times more vitamin C than commercial spinach harvested at peak season. Roman legionaries stationed in northern Britain survived late winter scurvy, not through supply lines, but through cleavers, the sticky, scrambling weed that colonizes every hedgerow by February. Medieval monastic records from the 12th century document spring weed broths consumed during Lent, described as the physician's gift before the physician arrives. While modern shelves still display last autumn's imported produce, the roadside is already erupting with concentrated nutrition. 5 plants appear before anything else dares to grow. They require no cultivation, no irrigation, no fertilizer. They simply return every year, whether invited or not. This is the story of nature's first offering. And somewhere in this video, one of these plants holds a fact so unexpected it rewrites everything assumed about wild food and modern deficiency. Galium aperine, Cleavers, emerges in late February while frost still grips the soil beneath it. Its hooked bristles evolved to cling to passing animals, distributing seeds across entire landscapes. Those same hooks catch the sleeve of anyone who walks near a hedgerow in early spring. Historical records from Anglo-Saxon England describe it as a strainer plant. Peasants passed dairy through bundles of cleavers to remove impurities. But the nutritional profile is what demands attention. Cleavers contain chlorophyll concentrations that peak in early spring before the plant flowers. The window is brief, perhaps 3 weeks, before the stems become fibrous and bitter. The plant collapses entirely by summer, leaving no trace of its early abundance. Roman texts reference Galium as a cooling herb for swollen lymph nodes, a use that persisted through 17th century European herbalism. It appeared on every lane, every wall base, every garden border, and still does. The distinction between weed and vegetable is economic, not botanical. Cleavers simply refused to be owned. Urtica dioica, the stinging nettle, emerges as a compact rosette in March, bearing no resemblance to its midsummer aggression. At this stage, the sting is weak and the nutritional density is at its annual peak. Iron content in young nettle leaves reaches 1.64 millilibras per 100 dollars, comparable to red lentils, a food celebrated globally for plant-based iron. A 2020 analysis in the Journal of Herbal Medicine confirmed nettle's calcium content surpasses that of cow's milk on a dry weight basis. The plant accumulates minerals from deep in the soil, acting as a biological pump. Wherever nettles grow in dense patches, the ground beneath them is measurably richer. Medieval European households gathered nettle in early spring as a deliberate nutritional strategy after months of salted meats and stored grain. Scots called it poor man's spinach, not as an insult, but as a statement of respect. The fact that nettles cost nothing while iron supplements cost significantly challenges a particular story about progress. Nettles still grow at the base of every old wall, every forgotten corner of every garden. They return without being planted. This is not a coincidence. It is a survival contract written into the soil. Barbaria vulgaris, Wintercress, is one of the few plants that maintains green leaves beneath snow. It belongs to the mustard family, sharing chemistry with broccoli, kale, and cabbage. Its glucosinolate compounds, the same class found in commercial cruciferous vegetables, are present in concentrations that peak during cold weather. A 1998 study by the USDA found that cold stress in Brassica family plants increases glucosinolate production as a frost defense mechanism. Wintercress was documented by John Gerard in his 1597 Herbal. As a plant consumed by laborers during the Hungry Gap, the lean weeks between winter stores running out and summer crops arriving. The bitter flavor is not a flaw. It is a signal of chemical complexity. Modern food breeding systematically removed bitterness from commercial produce to appeal to mass-market preferences. In doing so, it removed the compounds that bitter flavor represents. Wintercress was never domesticated because its bitterness couldn't be bred away without destroying what made it valuable. It grows along roadsides, field margins, and disturbed ground, exactly where no one thinks to look for nutrition. The hungry gap still exists. The solution still grows along the same paths. Industry simply convinced the world to stop bending down. Capsella bursa pastoris, shepherd's purse, is named for its seed pods, which resemble the flat triangular pouches medieval shepherds wore at their belts. It is one of the most globally distributed plants on Earth, found on every continent except Antarctica. This ubiquity is not accidental. The plant evolved to thrive in disturbed, nutrient-depleted ground, the very environments created by human activity. A 2002 pharmacological study in phytotherapy research identified flavonoids and peptides in shepherd's purse with documented vasoconstrictive properties. Civil War field surgeons in America documented its use as a topical hemostatic agent when medical supplies ran out. It was not folklore, it was emergency botany under battlefield conditions. The plant emerges weeks before most spring weeds, often appearing in late January in temperate climates. Its rosette hugs the ground, conserving heat, waiting for the first break in frost. Vitamin K content in the leaves is measurably high, a nutrient critical for coagulation and bone density. Shepherd's purse asks for nothing. It grows in cracked pavement, neglected borders, and the edges of paths walked daily. Most people step over it without recognition. The plant with battlefield credentials grows between the cracks of every sidewalk. Portulaca oleracea, Purslane, appears slightly later than the others, emerging once soil temperatures reliably exceed 10 degrees Celsius. It is, by almost every measurable standard, the most nutritionally dense of the five. A landmark 1986 study by Simopoulos and Salem, published in Science, identified purslane as the richest known land plant source of omega-3 fatty acids. EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, is a long-chain omega-3 almost exclusively associated with fatty fish and expensive supplements. Purslane synthesizes it from ground contact with soil microbiota. This discovery generated significant academic interest, then disappeared almost entirely from public consciousness. Purslane was a standard salad plant in ancient Greece, Rome, and throughout the medieval Mediterranean. It appears in the writings of Dioscorides, in Roman agricultural texts, and in Renaissance-era European cookbooks. Then the food industry standardized the salad: iceberg lettuce, cucumber, and tomato, a combination that is visually predictable and nutritionally hollow by comparison. Purslane was edged out not because it failed anyone, but because it couldn't be warehoused. It wilts within hours of harvest, making it commercially invisible. It still grows in every garden, every neglected path, every sunny border, containing what the supplement aisle charges significant money to provide. Each of these five plants shares a critical biological property. Their nutritional peak is brief. Cleavers peaks before flowering, a window of roughly 3 weeks. Young nettles are most potent before the first true leaves harden, 2 to 4 weeks from emergence. Wintercress is richest during cold stress conditions, specifically in the weeks it grows through frost. Shepherd's purse maintains consistent nutrition through spring, but its tender early growth is most accessible. Purslane appears last, but grows most rapidly, and deteriorates most quickly after harvest. This ephemerality is the reason industrial food systems ignored them entirely. A crop that peaks for 3 weeks, wilts in hours, and cannot be stored, sorted, or shipped, is invisible to a system built around shelf life. But for anyone with a garden, a hedgerow, or a nearby path, the timing is not a limitation. It is a calendar. Nature offers each plant at precisely the season of greatest need. Late winter and early spring are the months when human bodies emerge from lower sun exposure, reduced fresh food variety, and depleted cold season stores. The timing of these plants is not coincidence, it is co-evolution. The body that learned to read the landscape had everything it needed. Identification is the first act of reclaiming this knowledge. Cleavers is recognizable by its sticky texture and whorled leaf pattern. It clings to fabric on contact. Young nettles show a distinctively heart-shaped leaf with serrated edges and fine hair-like stingers on reddish stems. Wintercress carries bright yellow flowers once it bolts, but before flowering, its dark green lobed leaves are the identification marker. Shepherd's purse is identified immediately by its triangular seed pods. No other roadside plant carries that shape. Purslane is unmistakable. Thick, succulent, reddish stems with fleshy, paddle-shaped leaves. These plants are not rare. They are not exotic. They grow in the margins that the modern world calls waste ground. But waste ground is not wasted. It is unmanaged abundance. Every spring, the landscape restages the same offering it has made for thousands of years. 5 plants, 5 different nutritional contributions. 1 season, 0 cost. The question is not whether these plants exist. The question is whether the knowledge to recognize them will survive another generation.